Beyond free will. Why your brain makes decisions seconds before you do. You think you chose to click on this video, but your brain actually made that decision 7 seconds ago. Scientific evidence shows your motor cortex fires long before you feel any conscious spark of intent. Are you truly the pilot of your life, or just a passenger watching a pre-recorded biological movie? Think about the last 5 minutes of your day. You picked up a coffee mug. You turned on a faucet. Maybe you pressed a button or flipped a page. Small, mundane, completely insignificant actions. At least, that's what your mind tells you. And behind every single one of them, there's a story you keep repeating without realizing it. I wanted to do that, and I did it. Will, intention, control. This is the foundational assumption our entire civilization holds about human beings, that there is a central I, a conductor in the cockpit, who analyzes the situation, deliberates, and then issues the command, move now. That we are the conscious architects of our own physical actions, at least at the most basic level. But what if that story is completely wrong? Not slightly wrong, not nuanced or incomplete. Fundamentally, structurally, mathematically wrong? In 1983, a California neurologist named Benjamin Libet gave subjects an absurdly simple task. Sit in front of an oscilloscope with a rotating dial, and at some point, whenever you feel like it, flex a finger. Simple. That's it. But at the same time, Libet was measuring their brain's electrical activity through an electroencephalogram, and he asked subjects to note exactly where the dial was pointing the moment they first felt the urge to move their finger. The results were so unsettling that Libet himself hesitated to publish them. About 550 milliseconds, nearly half a second, before subjects moved their finger, their brain already showed a distinct electrical wave called the Bereitschafts potential, or readiness potential. Neural activity was already in full swing. But here's the truly hard-to-swallow part. Subjects reported feeling the conscious intention to act only about 200 milliseconds before the movement. Not 550, just 200. That means their brain had already launched the execution process 350 milliseconds before they felt any trace of conscious intent. The brain decided. The mind found out afterward. 350 milliseconds. Sounds small, doesn't it? A blink, a nothing. But think about what that means conceptually. There is a gap, tiny, but real and measurable, between the moment your nervous system fires up an action and the moment you, as a conscious entity, are informed that an intention exists. You are not the source. You are the recipient. If you were a manager at a company, imagine finding out that your employees had already started building the product half an hour before you received the email telling you the project had been approved. And yet you believe you approved it. Neuroscientists call this subjective experience of control a retrospective illusion of causality. Your conscious mind does not initiate the action. It ratifies it, registers it, and almost instantly narrates a story in which you just made a decision. You are the screenwriter of a film someone else already shot. Libet's study has been replicated dozens of times. It has been criticized, refined, and attacked from every angle by philosophers and neuroscientists alike. And while the technical details have been nuanced over the decades, the core conclusion has survived with remarkable persistence. In 2008, researchers John Dylan Haynes and Chun-Xiang Soon at the Max Planck Institute took Libet's experiment to another level entirely. They used functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, which meant they weren't just measuring general electrical activity. They could literally see which regions of the brain were activating and when. The results were even more radical. Activity in the prefrontal and parietal cortex, regions associated with planning and decision-making, could predict a subject's choice up to 7 to 10 seconds before that person was conscious of having made a decision. Not milliseconds, seconds, 7 of them. So this wasn't a minor technical latency. It was a systematic head start of unconscious neurological processes over the subjective experience of choosing. Your brain knows what you'll decide 7 seconds before you do. You're the last to find out. But lab experiments can feel abstract. Let's make this more concrete. Imagine you're at your desk and you're thirsty. At some point, you find your hand already reaching for your water bottle. When did you decide to do that? Can you pinpoint the exact moment you thought, "Now I will pick up the bottle"? Most likely you can't. There's a vague, diffuse window in which the intention and the action seem to appear simultaneously, or sometimes the action even seems to precede any clearly formulated intent. This is not a glitch. This is the norm. Motor neuroscience researchers have repeatedly documented that the human body's motor system, including the cerebellum, the basal ganglia, and the primary motor cortex, initiates and calibrates physical movements before any clear, conscious representation of that movement exists. Your body starts the execution. Your mind writes the story about how it made the decision. We are narrative-building animals. We construct retrospective stories about ourselves, and we believe them with absolute conviction. If the brain launches actions before the conscious mind is informed, what's left of the concept of free will? This is the question that has kept philosophers awake for 4 decades, and the answers vary dramatically. Some, like neuroscientist Sam Harris, argue that free will is simply an illusion, a story we tell ourselves, entirely inconsistent with physics and biology. There is no you separate from your brain making decisions. You are your brain, and your brain follows causal laws just like every other physical system in the universe. Others, like philosopher Dennett, reject this conclusion as too hasty. They argue that free will doesn't need to be a magical, supernatural force disconnected from neurons and synapses to be real and meaningful. That you making a decision through your neurological mechanisms is no different from saying a calculator performs an operation through its transistors. And no one disputes that the operation took place. But there is a third perspective, perhaps the most unsettling of all. Maybe the question itself is wrongly framed. Maybe you and your brain are not 2 distinct entities communicating with each other, one slower, one faster. Maybe everything that you are is the neurological process itself, conscious and unconscious together. And the boundary you draw between my decision and my neural process is artificial, a cultural convention, not a biological reality. Here's where we land when we follow the thread of these findings with genuine honesty. The model we have of ourselves, a conscious, central self that commands an obedient body, is probably wrong. You are not a pilot in a cockpit. You are not even a passenger sitting behind an autopilot. Both metaphors still assume a separation between you and mechanism that may simply not exist. You are, instead, an extraordinarily complex biological system in which consciousness is an emergent phenomenon, real, functional, important, but not necessarily the primary source of physical action. You are the wave, not the one who makes the wave. And yet, and this is the beautiful, terrible paradox, it feels like you. With full intensity, with absolute certainty. Every movement you make feels like it comes from inside, from your deepest center. Maybe that is exactly what consciousness is, the system that arrives last, but believes it came first. So, before you close this video, or more precisely, a few seconds before your brain has already made that decision, sit with one question. If your physical choices are preceded by neurological processes you don't consciously control, What does responsibility still mean? What does merit or blame mean? And how should we live, knowing that our mind might be the last place to receive the news about our own life? The answers are in the next episode. If this video shifted even slightly the way you see yourself, hit like and subscribe. Your brain already decided to. You just don't know it yet.